Good morning and welcome to this edition of the Leadership Think Tank. Today's leadership lesson is, before I get to that, I want to give us a key thought this morning, and that is great leaders do not simply manage people, they learn to manage themselves. John Maxwell says, the hardest person to lead is me. Right? The hardest person to lead is yourself. And one of the most overlooked qualities of an effective leadership is emotional intelligence. It's often called EQ, right? And so often we focus on a leader's knowledge, experience, vision, talent, and ability to make decisions. And those things are important, but they're not enough by themselves. A person can be incredibly intelligent and still struggle as a leader because they do not know how to handle their own emotions or understand the emotions of others or respond appropriately under pressure. So emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize and understand and manage your own emotions while recognizing and responding wisely to the emotions of the people around you or the people that you serve. And as leaders, we are constantly influencing the emotional environment around us, right? Meaning we could be the TNT that sets off an explosion in the very realms we're trying to lead in. You know, our attitude can affect a meeting. Our frustration can affect a team. Our calmness can bring stability to a difficult situation. And our words can either build confidence or create insecurity. Yes, we as leaders can cause that kind of chaos in the way that we present ourselves. So this is why leadership begins with self-leadership. Before we can effectively lead others, we must learn to understand what is happening within ourselves. Think about this. If I cannot lead myself, eventually my emotions will lead me. Okay? So there are 5 components of emotional intelligence. And number 1 is self-awareness. Know what is happening inside of you. Right? So the first component, as I said, is self-awareness. And a self-aware leader understands that his or her emotions, what's going on with them and how they affect their behavior. When you're frustrated, do you know what to do? Do you know when you're frustrated? Do you know that you're frustrated before you speak? When you're tired and stressed or insecure or offended, can you recognize that those emotions may be influencing your decisions? Self-awareness allows you to pause and ask yourself, why am I reacting this way? I had a person come up to me out of the blue one day and say, hey, so-and-so needs something specific. I don't want to get into the details of that. And I got frustrated because it wasn't presented to me the right way, and I snapped back. And when I snapped back, yes, mild me, I snapped back, and the person was like, whoa. And I stopped for a second. I said, I'm sorry, what was that? Forgive me for that. Okay, so many leadership problems are not really caused by the situation itself. They're caused by an unexamined emotional reaction to the situation. So someone challenges our idea and we become defensive, or someone offers correction and we take it personally. You know, a team member disagrees with us and we interpret the disagreement as disrespect. Self-awareness helps us separate what happened from how we feel about what happened. And both may be real, but They're not always the same thing. Okay? So a wise leader regularly asks, what am I feeling right now? And why am I feeling it? That simple question can prevent bad decision making or prevent damaging a conversation or unnecessary conflict. And listen to this, you cannot manage what you refuse to recognize. Man, that's gold, isn't it? Right? You cannot manage what you refuse to recognize. So, number 2, self-management. Self-management. Control your response. Control your response. The second component, again, is self-management. We cannot always control what happens to us, but we can learn to control how we respond. You may have heard this said before, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond, right? Or how you deal with it. So just in case you didn't know, leadership will test your emotional maturity. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. Criticisms will come. Expectations will not always be met. The question is not whether you will experience emotional moments. The question is, what will you do with them? Emotional intelligent leaders learn, are you ready for it? They learn the power of pause. The power of pause. So many times as leaders, we don't want any space in between what we're trying to talk about, right? We don't want anything to interrupt the flow. But pause is powerful for very many things. One is it grabs the audience attention. And number 2, it gives us a moment to reflect before responding. So the power of pause, right? They do not, excuse me. Let me take a drink of water. See what I did there? That's a pause. Emotional, intelligent leaders learn that they do not have the answer all the time, right? Or have to answer every criticism immediately. They do not have to respond to every provocation. They understand that a moment of silence can be wiser than an emotional reaction. So sometimes the strongest leadership decision you can make is to wait until your emotions settle before you speak. Now, I know if you're scheduled to be on stage or something at an appointed time, that this is a little more difficult to do. But even in that moment, in that environment, you can pause for a moment, collect your thoughts, and go at it. And listen, here's a nugget of wisdom for you this morning. Never allow a temporary emotion cause a permanent decision. Okay? When we lead while we're angry, offended, or embarrassed, or afraid, we can say things that are difficult to take back. Self-management does not mean pretending that you don't have any emotions, right? It means refusing to allow your emotions to become the master of your behavior. Healthy leaders feel deeply, but they respond wisely. Yes, and guess what? Us leaders are dealing with things. We're going through things. We're facing things, right? We get challenges as well as the team that we lead and the individuals that we lead. So, yes, leaders are human, right? But it's how we respond, right? I remember Fonzie, whenever he dealt with a situation on happy days, he would just kind of do this little motion, right? Where he just like, okay, I've got it. I'm under control because I'm the Fonz, right? All right, there you go. Number 3 is empathy. Empathy. Learn to see through another person's eyes, right? So empathy is the ability to understand and consider what another person may be feeling or experiencing. And it does not necessarily mean you agree with them, right? You can understand someone without approving of everything that they do. You can listen to someone without surrendering your position. But emotionally intelligent leaders recognize that people are more than their performance, their attitude, or their latest mistake. Now, before reacting to someone's behavior, a wise leader asks this question: what might be behind this? What aren't they saying that they should be saying right now? Right? And perhaps an employee who seems disengaged is just overwhelmed in the moment. Or maybe a volunteer who is unusually quiet is dealing with something at home. Perhaps the person who seems resistant has legitimate concerns that cannot be heard. Sometimes we know in part, and we don't have all the answers, and we're trying to glue together everything that's being said in real time without all the facts. But empathy changes the way we lead because it reminds us that leadership is about people. People do not want to feel like they're simply being managed. They're not a number. They want to know that they're understood and that they are valued. And one of the most powerful things a leader can say is, help me understand. Help me understand what you're trying to say, because I want to be of help to you, right? Those three words can turn confrontation into conversation, right? Help me understand. Wow, that's gold today, isn't it? Number 4 is social awareness. Read the room. Read the room. What does the air feel like? A great leader must develop social awareness. This means learning to recognize the emotional climate of the team, of the meeting, of the organization, right? Have you ever seen a leader walk into a room and immediately sense that something is wrong? Well, yeah, I know I have. That's social awareness. The leader is paying attention not only to the words, but also to the tone, to the body language, to the participation, and to the relationships. What's going on? Maybe you need to bring a little Fonzie in the room, right? So sometimes the issue in the room is not what people are talking about. Sometimes the real issue is what people are not talking about. That can be dangerous sometimes. So an emotional intelligent leader learns to listen beyond the words, and they recognize the tension before it becomes conflict. They notice the discouragement before someone gives up. They sense disconnection before it becomes division. You do not have to become suspicious or overanalyze everyone, but you should become observant, socially aware, right? Leaders who only hear words may miss the message. So pay attention to your people. Ask questions. Notice changes. And be present. Be present enough to recognize that when someone needs encouragement, clarity, correction, or simply someone to listen to, you will be that person. And number 5, relationship management. Relationship management. We build trust through our response. Okay? So leadership, John Maxwell said this for years, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less, right? And influence is built through relationships. Now, I've heard this too by John Maxwell many years ago in one of his earlier books. He said that he went and became the pastor of a particular church, and he discovered real quick that he wasn't the one with the influence. that there was another guy in the church that had all the influence. So he connected himself to that gentleman and gained his influence. And by gaining his influence, he had the influence of the rest of the group. So people may follow a position for a while, but they will give their best when trust is present. So emotional intelligence helps us build that kind of trust because people learn what kind of leader we are by how we treat them in difficult moments. So anyone can be pleasant when things are going well, right? But the true test of leadership is often revealed when there's pressure or disagreement or failure or conflict. You get the idea, right? So ask yourself, can I correct someone without crushing them? Can I disagree with someone without becoming disrespectful? Can I confront a problem without attacking the person themselves? Can I apologize when I'm wrong? Those are powerful questions this morning. So one of the greatest signs of emotional maturity in leadership is the ability to say, here's another Fonzie quote here. Maybe it's not a quote, but it's Fonzie nonetheless. When he would say, I was rude. I was rude. I was wrong, right? I was wrong. It was hard for him to say that. I was wrong, but that's one of the greatest signs of emotional maturity in leadership is the ability to say, I was wrong. I blew it. I messed up. And not to seek empathy from others because you said you were wrong. Not to gaslight somebody, right? No. Because that's also wrong. All right, so whether you know it or not, that does not weaken your leadership by saying, I was wrong. It strengthens your credibility. Say, look, I blew it. Man, as a dad, I've had to say I was wrong a lot of times to my kids. I had to eat crow, as they call it, but it strengthens your credibility. People do not expect leaders to be perfect, but they do need leaders who are honest, who are humble, and willing to take responsibility. That's powerful. Okay, so when you find yourself in an emotionally charged situation, remember these 3 words. Are you ready for them? Write them down. Number 1 is pause, process, and proceed. So pause. Don't immediately react. Take a breath and give yourself time to settle. Number 2 is process. Ask yourself, what am I feeling in this moment? Why am I feeling it? What are the facts? And what might the other person be experiencing? Those are great questions as well. Next is proceed. Choose a response that reflects your values, your purpose, and the kind of leader that you want to be. That is emotional intelligence in action. The goal is not to become emotionless. The goal is to become emotionally wise. Isn't that good stuff? So the greatest leadership battles are often won or lost before we even speak to another person. They are won or lost in the private moments when we decide whether to react or respond, whether to assume or understand, whether to defend ourselves or listen, whether to let our emotions control us or allow wisdom to guide us. So here's the challenge before us today. Before you try to manage the emotions of your team, learn to understand and manage your own. Before you ask people to trust your leadership, become the kind of leader whose emotional consistency creates safety and trust. And remember this, your IQ may get you into the leadership room, but your EQ, your emotional intelligence, often determines how effectively you lead once you get there. Was that a great lesson today or what? I'm feeling charged up from it myself. So I want to leave you with a couple of quick questions. All right. Which area of emotional intelligence, self-awareness, self-management, empathy, social awareness, or relationship management is your greatest strength? Number 2, which area needs the most growth in your leadership? Maybe you can ask some voices that you trust and be prepared to listen and don't get offended, right? You need to know, because sometimes we have blind spots and we don't see what other people are seeing, okay? And number 3, how do you typically respond when you feel criticized, frustrated, or misunderstood? And 2 more. What would you change about your leadership if you practiced the 3 Ps, the pause, the process, and proceed? And lastly, how can your emotional responses either strengthen or weaken the people that you lead? Pause this recording, rewind it back, review these questions. They're going to help you, I promise. And final thought for you as we wrap up today. The best leaders do not allow their emotions to disappear. They learn to ensure that their emotions become servants of their leadership rather than masters of it. I hope this has been valuable today for you. I would encourage you to watch this back, to do as the sheep and the cows do, regurgitate it, chew on it, meditate on it, think about it, and apply it. All right? Okay, thank you everyone for tuning in today. There's some other leadership lessons on our YouTube channel, so make sure you check those out. I'd love to hear from you as well. Reach out to us. Post something in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking, what you thought about this teaching today, this leadership lesson. Thank you for joining me today. Have a blessed day.